subscribers and followers, thank you for coming back, joining me again today for another market trend report. Today, I'm going to cover the Wheatlands subdivision. We're going to focus on single family homes, and we're going to be looking at the time frame of January 2020 through December 2022. This is John Nichols with Coldwell Banker, your Colorado licensed realtor, and I'm here to paint a clearer picture to the housing market. I can be reached directly at 720-877-1940. You're also going to find all of my social media contacts here as well. Feel free to reach out any method that's, best fit for you. More than happy to have any conversation, dive deeper into some of this data. Maybe you want this type of information for another subdivision. And I'm here to do whatever I can to make your real estate needs a little more simplified. So let's get started. So here we're going to be taking a look at average and median sales price. Now, when I look at this chart, I typically like to focus on the average sales price, which is this greenish line that we see going through here. Now, we're focusing on single family homes in the Wheatlands. And immediately, I guarantee your eyes went to December. Now, there's a reason why December is zero. It's because in the Wheatlands community this year, there was not a single home sold for the month of December. So as we go through some of these charts and some of this information, you're going to see areas where it didn't trigger any data. If there was no homes sold, then I don't have an average price point of homes that sold. There were no homes sold. I don't have an average price per square foot. There's no homes sold. We don't have the average days on market, so on and so forth. So keep that in mind as we look through this. However, don't let that scare you, because from what I see within the Wheatlands, it's a very strong community compared to other subdivisions that I consistently look at this type of report for. So average and median sales price. Average sales price. So you can see here, which was coming that spring, summer timeframe. So we got May, June, July is when the average price peaked for the Wheatlands. And then just like every other community, we start to see that decline as we head into fall and winter. Now, the difference with the Wheatlands is you guys actually have a uptick in November, which I have not seen yet in other communities that I've looked at. And there's a reason for this. And as we go through these slides, we'll get into why that happened. However, that's also a very good indicator for your community. And prior to this peak in May of 2022, we have the uptick that we seen coming into spring. But if we were to look at this window and back, so really about the February, March timeframe and back, you're actually pretty consistent. And to me, seeing this type of consistency with everything that was going on is a really good sign and is a really strong indicator of the housing community for Wheatlands. Now we're going to look at the average, or I should say the list price compared to what the home has actually sold for. Again, with everything that was going on in the Wheatlands, you guys hovered pretty consistently around that 100 to about 110% of your list price. And once again, another great sign from December to December, we see a little fluctuation 2020 through 2021, but we know things got pretty crazy then. And then we also seen things get pretty crazy in early 2022. So this is kind of normal as far as what's been going on. However, what's not normal is really the consistency and how level it is. For several other subdivisions, I've seen more of a upwards, way downwards type of trend throughout this time frame, more of a roller coaster. Then right here, you guys get right back on track. The homes are selling at 100% of the list price. And then again in November, we have this uptick, and we're going to touch on why. But, the homes that sold in November were, let's call it 105 to 110% of the list price. And again, a very good sign and a very strong signal for the Wheatlands. So now we're going to look at the number of properties sold um, since 2020. And what we see here is, we got the up and down, the ebb and flows, which is once again a consistent trend I've seen over the past couple of years. However, what I will say is the number of properties sold on average is lower than other subdivisions. Now, it's not lower because your homes are not selling, it's lower because your neighborhood, your friends in the area, they are holding on to their homes. They're less likely to sell than your surrounding communities. The other community that I kind of see this trend in is Talon's Reach, where it's difficult to get into that community because the homeowners in that community hold on to their homes. Now, the other thing that can impact this number as far as property sold is also new builds. Obviously, there's no current new builds in the Wheatland community. There's no current new builds in Talon's Reach, whereas some of our other subdivisions, South Shore, Copperleaf, even out in Blackstone, some of them are still building, right? So that skews this number a little bit. But however, holistically, what I see going on out in our area, the Southeast area, that also has good ties to Buckley Air Force Base, where we see turnover for military reasons also impact these numbers and other subdivisions. Wheatlands, you guys hold pretty strong, and it's even more true as we entered into 2022. I mean, very, very consistent. The one kind of outlier there was June. Not sure why, but outside of June, consistent homeowners are staying put. That's a great sign because the harder it is to get into a community, the more consistent and more level you see their price points. All right, so average days on market. So once again, you're gonna hear this over and over in this video. Wheatlands, look, I mean, this is just tremendous and consistent, right? We kind of had a hiccup here um, in June, which some of these numbers can be skewed. Or I'm sorry, in January. Some of these numbers can be skewed because there's not as many homes selling holistically. So there's months where there could be between one and two homes that have sold that will skew this number here. Now, in November, our days on the market got a little high, and this number is higher than what we see throughout Aurora. The Aurora average right now is in the ballpark of about 56 days. But looking at November, it's a scenario where there were only two homes that sold. And as we go through the slides, you're going to see some of that information. The two homes that sold set on the market a little bit longer, so they skew that number. However, those homes also sold at and above the list price. So something to be said there as well. Um, but days on market, you guys know we've seen the uptick in interest rates, which has an impact on buyers. Fewer buyers in the pool, homes sit a little bit longer. But don't let this number blind you into the fact that inventory is still low. Average price, sales price per square foot. Basically, we're taking a dollar amount, assigning it to price per square foot for the Wheatlands area. And, once again, December, no home sold. So that number is going to be zero. In November, you guys are coming in at about $193 per square foot. So that's a great baseline to start at when you're trying to figure out the value of your home. Now, keep in mind, working with a licensed professional realtor, there's other tools and other resources we pull in to help us identify the correct price for your home in any market, right? The market's hot. We got to make sure we have the right price to drive the right buyers in. If the market's cooled as it is today, we still have to go to market with the right price. In today's environment, we cannot go to market with prices from early 2022 and 2021. And the reason why is because that will be well above what's going on and what we're seeing in the market right now. But price per square foot, you guys are holding pretty strong. And actually, if we go back here a little bit, in April of April of 2022, you dipped. But if we were to remove that, you really don't run into this again till possibly January 2022, but for sure the October timeframe here of 2021, right? So what that shows is that your price per square foot is holding strong. Have you lost some value? Yes, everyone's lost value since the peak of 2022. But when I'm looking at year over year, we're still in the positive. And if we go back even further, that equity that we gain, if you were a homeowner in your current home, say you purchased in 2019, I mean, you're still well ahead of the curve. I mean, you have anywhere from 100 to 150,000, maybe even 200,000 in equity that you're sitting on. Um, we're hearing a lot of reports and, you know, things about, oh, the market's crashing. This isn't a sign of a crash. This is really the market correcting and leveling itself out. So this is perfectly normal. Again, exclude December. There were no homes sold, but when you don't have much inventory or much activity going into the holiday season, it's not a surprise in combination with current interest rates. Now, to me, this is one of the more important factors. It's an area that I like because I think it's very, very telling. It's inventory. And with inventory, now we're getting to the economics of supply and demand, right? So with inventory, the higher the demand, low inventory or low supplies kind of creates that scenario that we had last spring, multiple offers, um, buyers pushing purchase prices well above the norm, and typically that's not common in our market. It was just something that we went through really during that COVID phase. But as we look at inventory now, yes, we're seeing increased inventory compared to demand because demand's really low, thanks to, let's call it the interest rates. However, on a normal scale, inventory is still relatively low to what we've seen historically, right? So this can kind of be a smoke and mirror. And the reason why I bring this up, because it can be a red flag as we head into red flag for buyers as we head into the spring buying season, right? So sellers are going to love it. Buyers are on the opposite end of the spectrum. And as we head into spring, if we continue to see inventory decrease, rates decrease, we're going to get in a scenario where demand is back through the roof. And we're not going to have enough inventory to support that demand. And we're going to see prices go back up. And the reason why I'm talking about inventory is because this is also a factor in individuals speaking about a housing market crash. Well, for there to be a crash, I mean, honestly, we have to have months and months of inventory. You can see here in November, you guys reached about 5 months worth of inventory, but because of no listings in December, it very quickly was down at zero for December, right? So it's safe to say you're probably more in the range of about 2 months of inventory right now. Now we look at November having 11 homes on the market to December having 7 homes on the market. And you may say, well, John, you said no homes sold in December. So this is what happened in the Wheatlands. In November, there were 3 homes that were pulled off of the market, whether the seller no longer wants to sell or they want to wait till spring, whatever it may be, they came off the market. And there was 1 home that sold at the end of December. So that's how we went from 11 to 7. Now, the home that sold in November is the same home that's impacting the days on market for November. So we've seen that increased number of 76%. So now we're looking at listings. We're looking at homes that are coming to market. And this is where I say we got to watch for the buyer. We have to watch inventory levels because as we tick towards spring, we know buyer demand is going to increase. But really, what we're seeing, you got to drop in inventory. You got to drop in inventory here in 2020, right? That's the year COVID hit. And then we kind of had very low inventory through the peak this March through August time frame, right? Uptick in January, that's fine, but then we very quickly seen the decrease. November gave us a jump, but then look at December of 2021, right? December of 2021, December of 2020, and zero for December of 2022. So if December is an indication of what we're going to see in spring, well, December was low here. We had a crazy spring with inventory. December was even lower here, and we can say that we reached our peak during this March through August timeframe when we were looking at price points and what was going on in the market. Now December is at zero. And again, you're in a community where your neighbors are holding on to their home. So when a home in Wheatlands hits the market, there's definitely more interest in it than we may see in other subdivisions in your area. So bottom line, to wrap it up for the Wheatlands, your numbers are holding strong as a homeowner. Yes, there's less demand right now. However, I would say that there's not much to fear. Spring will be the telltale, and what I would forecast for spring is an increase in buyer demand with the hopes of mortgage rates coming down because inflation starts to come down. And those two right now, from what I'm seeing, are going hand in hand. So if we see those numbers come down, we're going to see demand go up. And if inventory remains on this trend, it's going to be a tough buy-in season for buyers. And when you're a buyer and you're looking at getting into an area like the Wheatlands, this is why you would hear loan officers and agents tell you today, get the ball rolling, jump in the pool, find that home you want. Because when the time comes and the way things are pointing, come spring, you're going to be in for another fight. And obviously, we're not going to be happy as a buyer if we're back in a scenario where homes are receiving multiple offers, right? So, like I said, this reports provide insight for current homeowners in the Wheatlands area and future buyers, those that are looking to get into the area. If you would like to talk about this in more detail, or you would like to talk about your home in particular and what things look like, now is the time as a seller to start preparing for the spring season. We're going to have to do touch ups, we're going to have to take pictures. You want your home to be tip top shape and ready to go come spring so we can get it on the market, get it moved for top dollar, and have you moving on to your next big step. Again, John Nichols with Coldwell Banker. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. I can be reached directly at 720-877-1940. Thank you for your time. If you found this video valuable, you made it to the end, please like and subscribe, and I will be sure to send more your way. Thank you. Happy New Year. Have a wonderful night.